By the way, how annoying is The View getting? God, they're insufferable, that lot, aren't they? It's just a side effect. But she told Joy Behar that she's scared as heck. And it's this permanently offended, snowflakey, cancel culture mob who descend like a pack of hornets on anything they can get themselves into, trying to suppress everyone's right to an opinion.
Welcome back to All-Star Buzz. Thank you for joining us, and let's begin. Piers Morgan just went full nuclear on The View. This wasn't just some petty jab, it was a full-on takedown. But what sent him into such a rage? According to him, it's the same old story. The so-called permanently offended cancel culture mob who swoop in like hornets, trying to silence anyone with an opinion. And if there's one thing Morgan hates, it's cancel culture. For years, he's been one of the loudest voices against it, calling it lunacy, a threat to free speech, and even comparing it to modern-day fascism. He's gone on endless rants about how it's turning people into cowards, too scared to speak their minds. Sounds pretty intense, right? But here's where it gets wild. The same guy who's made it his mission to fight cancel culture is now demanding ABC cancel The View. In his New York Post column, he didn't hold back, calling the show pointless, irrelevant, and a Trump-loathing joke. Harsh? Definitely. But is he onto something? Morgan claims The View has turned into nothing more than a daily Trump-bashing session, where the hosts don't even pretend.
And progressive voices at The View reacted to her appointment like this.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
See what I mean? They live to mock him, dragging him every single day. And this isn't just about his politics anymore, it's personal. Then Morgan took it up a notch, saying, "In my worst nightmares, I find myself trapped on a desert island with the hosts of The View." He went on to describe these nightmares as long, unbearable, mentally scarring, with the exact same pattern every time. Then, without missing a beat, Morgan went in for the kill, starting with Joy Behar. He didn't hold back. He called her out for that Halloween costume incident where she allegedly wore blackface, then tried to act like it never happened. And then came Alyssa Farah Griffin. Morgan straight up accused her of being a political chameleon, reminding everyone how she once worked for Trump, called him a brilliant president, and now suddenly he's the worst leader in history. He didn't hesitate to label her a flip-flopper. And honestly, is he wrong? How do you go from praising someone to acting like they're the villain of a bad movie? So what was it? A real change of heart? Or just a career move? Because at this point, The View is looking less like a talk show and more like a political reality show, where the script changes depending on who's trending. But wait, Sunny Hostin wasn't about to let that slide. According to her, the real flip-flopper isn't anyone from The View. Morgan wasn't buying it. He accused Hostin of unfairly going after Nikki Haley, claiming she faked her emotions about her husband's military deployment. Then he hit her with a dose of her own hypocrisy, dragging her for criticizing Haley over not using her real first name, while she doesn't use hers either. And of course, it wouldn't be a proper Morgan takedown without bringing up Whoopi Goldberg. He reminded everyone about her past controversies, including the time she got suspended from The View after making comments about the Holocaust that sparked massive backlash. And that's not even the half of it. Whoopi's had her fair share of controversies. Remember when she defended Roman Polanski back in the day? Yeah, that set off a firestorm too. At this point, Morgan's rant wasn't just an opinion, it was a full-blown roast session. No wonder people have strong feelings about The View. Morgan later argued that the show isn't about real debate anymore. It's just an echo chamber where the only thing that matters is how one-sided you can be. And guess what? A lot of people agree with him. Even folks who can't stand Trump are saying Morgan's got a point. It's obvious The View has a clear bias. So if the goal was to bring different perspectives together, well, that's definitely not happening. But hold on, is Morgan just doing the same thing? Some critics are calling him out, questioning whether The View really needs to be canceled, or just less like a never-ending left-wing therapy session. Wouldn't it be way more interesting if they actually had real debates instead of just putting Republicans on the grill every single day? Or is this just what talk shows have become? Nobody debates anymore, they just pick a side and start swinging. And honestly, Morgan isn't totally wrong. The show leans so far left, it's basically doing the limbo. Whenever a conservative guest walks in, they barely get a sentence out before, boom, they're thrown into a verbal WWE match they didn't even sign up for. It's not a debate, it's an intellectual roast session where one side's got the mic and the other is just hoping for a commercial break. You've seen it. Someone tries to make a point, and suddenly it turns into a real-life group chat argument. People watching at home? Stunned. Some are even joking that The View isn't even a talk show anymore. It's just a roast session people tune into for laughs. At this point, having an actual calm debate on The View would be the plot twist of the year. Forget surprise guests. Just let someone finish a sentence without getting side-eyed into oblivion. Now that would be revolutionary. So what's the answer? Well, while you think about that, let's get into the next drama, because Piers Morgan and his crew torched The View when Kamala Harris showed up. And let's just say it wasn't pretty.
And suddenly it turns into a real-life group chat argument. People watching at home? Stunned. Some are even joking that The View isn't even a talk show anymore. It's just a roast session people tune into for laughs. At this point, having an actual calm debate on The View would be the plot twist of the year. Forget surprise guests. Just let someone finish a sentence without getting side-eyed into oblivion. Now that would be revolutionary. So, what's the answer? Well, while you think about that, let's get into the next drama, because Piers Morgan and his crew torched The View when Kamala Harris showed up. And let's just say, it wasn't pretty. Did you catch that massive swing at The View? Calling it insufferable? And let's be real, he's not alone in that opinion. But saying it so publicly? That was a bold move. Then again, this show has built a reputation. Half the time, the hosts are shouting over each other, and the other half, nodding like they just cracked the Da Vinci Code. But Morgan's dig wasn't just about the chaos. It was a direct hit on how The View has basically turned into a political comfort blanket for Democrats. And to prove his point, he played a clip of Kamala Harris and Joy Behar, where Joy asked Harris a loaded question about Trump winning again, and then casually dropped the word crazies to describe his supporters. Now here's where it gets tricky, because no matter how Harris answered, she was stepping into a political minefield.
Did you catch that massive swing at The View, calling it insufferable? And let's be real, he's not alone in that opinion. But saying it so publicly? That was a bold move. Then again, this show has built a reputation. Half the time, the hosts are shouting over each other, and the other half they're nodding like they just cracked the Da Vinci Code. But Morgan's dig wasn't just about the chaos. It was a direct hit on how The View has basically turned into a political comfort blanket for Democrats. And to prove his point, he played a clip of Kamala Harris and Joy Behar, where Joy asked Harris a loaded question about Trump winning again, and then casually dropped the word crazies to describe his supporters. Now, here's where it gets tricky. No matter how Harris answered, she was stepping into a political minefield. If she agreed too much, she'd risk alienating moderate voters. But if she pushed back, she'd risk upsetting the audience that expected her to trash Trump. So what did she do? She played it safe, nodded along, kept it vague, and focused on one thing, making sure everyone was scared. Because Joy Behar knew exactly what she was doing. This wasn't some tough, hard-hitting question about real policy failures or challenges. Nope, this was a setup. A softball question, perfectly crafted to keep Harris in her comfort zone. And Morgan's frustration? Crystal clear. He doesn't see The View as a legitimate talk show anymore. It's just a one-sided political pep rally, complete with a studio audience that claps on command every time a Republican gets dragged. But here's where things heat up. Morgan and his panel weren't buying any of it. First off, they called out the fact that Harris didn't even flinch when Joy casually tossed out the word crazies to describe Trump supporters. Not a correction, not even a raised eyebrow. That instantly gave people flashbacks to Hillary Clinton's infamous basket of deplorables comment, which, let's be real, did not go over well back in 2016. But some on the panel argued that at least Clinton owned her words. She made a clear, intentional statement. Harris? Her response was a nervous, jumbled mess. Then the panel went in hard. They mocked the idea that the Vice President of the United States, one of the most powerful people on earth, was somehow terrified of a 77-year-old man with a comb-over. One commentator even threw in some sarcasm, pointing out that Harris has the backing of one of the strongest militaries in history, yet she's acting like Trump is some unstoppable horror movie villain. Instead of laying out actual policies, they argued she's just leaning into fear, repeating, "I'm afraid," over and over again, as if that's a campaign strategy. But here's where the debate gets interesting. Some panelists actually pushed back. They argued that Harris handled herself well, not because she was inspiring, but because she didn't fall into any traps. She avoided saying anything too controversial. Even when the topic of race in America came up, she didn't outright call the U.S. a racist country, but she didn't deny it either. It was a balancing act. Maybe too careful, but strategic. One person even said her biggest job right now isn't to shine, it's to not mess up. And then there's the real strategy at play here. 1 minute, you've got panelists trying to sound deep, like they're philosophers of the talk show world. And the next, it's like they're reading fortune cookies with advice so bad you'd think they were written during a rushed lunch break. Take Kamala Harris, for example. She might not be the most charismatic speaker. Sometimes it feels like she's buffering mid-sentence, like her words are getting lost in translation. But hey, maybe that's the point. Maybe her role on this show is just to show up, say a few words, throw in a dramatic pause like she's about to drop some epic, world-changing wisdom, and then nothing. A couple of empty words and a whole lot of air. Meanwhile, Piers Morgan is over here treating The View like it's the laughingstock of daytime TV. And honestly, many people are supporting him for calling out the show, even calling for it to be canceled. What's wild is they don't even realize what's happening. Right now, The View is less of a talk show and more of a tool to boost views by hating on others. It's like a reality TV show, but with less drama and way more political punching bags. But let me ask you this. Do you think Piers Morgan is going too far? Or is he just calling it like he sees it? What's the real strategy behind all this? Is it fear-mongering, or is it just about keeping the base fired up? Should The View be canceled altogether? Or does it just need a major balance shift to include some real, raw debate? Let us know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your take.